Hello and welcome to the Carmichael workshop. Today I'm going to show you how to make wooden sunglasses like these that I made out of curly maple, and these that I made out of walnut, and these made from purple heart with a maple stripe. There are a lot of websites out there that sell wooden sunglasses, but they can be kind of pricey. I've seen them range from about $70 up to $500, so it can be worth it to try to make your own. I'll include links to those websites in the video description in case you want to check them out. They usually have lots of nice photos and some videos you can watch that describe how their company came about, and they even show you a small glimpse of their production processes. There are lots of ways to make wooden sunglasses, so let me show you some of the things I tried, and then we'll walk through making a pair using the process that worked best for me. This is the first pair that I experimented with, and I cut these out of a thin piece of solid cherry using a template I found on Instructables.com. Basically, I cut out the front frames, the side pieces, and glued on these nose pads. And then on the side, I tried to create a wooden hinge by gluing in a piece of wood to the side of the frame and notching out the side piece so that it would slide over and I could drill a hole and put a pin through it. And that worked out okay. It just seems a little delicate and hard to get a good fit like that. So the next thing I wanted to move on to was trying to get lenses into the frames. To experiment with getting lenses into the frames, I cut another front frame piece out of thin purple heart, and I took this lens out of some old sunglasses and traced around it and then cut the lens opening so it's slightly smaller than this lens. Then I used my Dremel tool with a number 199 attachment, which is a little saw blade on a stick, and I cut a groove inside the lens opening, and at that point I tried to force this curved and contoured lens into this flat piece of wood and snap it into that groove. Now when I did that, the wood broke. It broke here, and I've since glued it back together, but at that point I pretty much abandoned trying to use solid wood. So the process that I had the best success with in making these was bent lamination. So let's walk through making a pair. And the first thing you're going to need are some lenses. And you can order lenses online, but a lot of the sites want you to order in bulk. So what I did is I just went out to the dollar store and bought a pair of these Wayfarer style sunglasses. And the lenses, they just pop right out. So you get a pair of lenses for only $1. You also need some hinges for your sunglasses, and I found a website that sells hinges recommended for wooden sunglasses. And for 5 pair, it was about $20. So once again, at the dollar store, I bought a pair of metal reading glasses that have hinges incorporated in them. And this particular pair is labeled a wide frame, which means the corners come out and then they bend back and then the hinge starts right about here. So that gives a little bit more meat on each side of the hinge where you can clip it off and glue it on to your wooden sunglasses. So for only $2 I got the lenses I need and the hinges I need to make a pair of wooden sunglasses. I drew up my own template for Wayfarer style sunglasses using some pictures of actual Ray-Ban sunglasses from Google Images. So I've got that, and then I'm going to make this pair out of this cherry board. So first thing I need to do is rip it down to a 2-inch wide piece, and then I'm going to resaw it into thin strips that are the same thickness as the lenses. Okay, I've got all my pieces cut for the front frames and the sides. So I'm going to take the 3 pieces that make up the front frames and I'm going to tape them together with blue tape and attach my template and cut out the overall shape of the glasses on my scroll saw. Now I'm going to drill starter holes through all 3 pieces where the lenses go, so I can get my pen blade in there and cut out the lens opening. At this point, I'm going to take the middle layer out and set the other 2 aside, and then I'm going to place the lenses where they need to go on the middle layer. And then I'm going to use my pencil to draw a line around the lenses so that I can cut that hole out so the lens will sit inside the middle layer. When cutting out the openings for the lenses in the middle layer, you want to be careful because this wood gets really thin and fragile and it can break easily. You don't have to cut it out perfectly, you just want it so that the lenses will fit in those openings with just a little bit of wiggle room in there. Now that the middle piece is ready and the lenses fit within both openings, I've taped the front piece and the back piece together with packing tape, and I'm going to overlay the middle layer on top of those and trace the lens openings onto the paper template. Then I'm going to take these pieces over to the scroll saw and cut out the lens openings so that they are smaller than the lenses. That way, when I assemble it all and the middle layer with the lenses is sandwiched in between the front and back piece, the lenses will be trapped inside. After using the middle layer to draw the location of the lens openings, I'm just going to draw another line about an 1/8 inch within that line, and that's going to be my cut line, and that's going to make sure that the lenses are trapped inside. After cutting the lens openings out of the front and back pieces, now is the best time to do your finish sanding within these openings. Because once you get the lenses in there, it's going to be very difficult to sand in this area without scratching the lenses. So I've installed my smallest spindle on my oscillating spindle sander, and I'm just going to sand enough to make it smooth, because if I take away too much, the lenses could just fall out of the glasses, and that'd be a bad thing. Once all of the pieces are ready, it's good to do a dry fit to make sure everything fits okay. So just put the middle piece onto the back piece, drop in the lenses, and then put on the front piece. And if everything fits okay, we can glue it up. Most sunglasses will have a curved profile that fits around the front of your face. So in order to get that profile with my bent lamination sunglasses, I made a form out of a part of a 2x4. All I really did was take the sunglasses and trace the curvature onto the top of the 2x4 piece, and then just cut it out with the bandsaw, and that made this little form that I can screw together and clamp the sunglasses together. Now, I covered the inside of the form with packing tape so that the glue won't stick to it. So let's glue up these sunglasses. Alright, I've got the front frames with the lenses clamped up in the form, and I like to add a couple of extra clamps to clamp it down really tight. Now this part can be kind of tedious because all those little parts like to move around, so you might want to use some tape to kind of tape the pieces together to hold it while you clamp it down really tight. And you can still kind of peek in there and see if everything is lined up correctly. So it looks pretty good to me. So while this is drying, I'm going to make a form so that I can glue up the temple or side pieces. Notice that they're not straight either, so they have this curve to it. So I'm just going to trace that curve onto this piece of 2x4 and make myself a form, and then glue these up as well. For this pair, I'm going to try to use 2 layers for the side pieces because I think if they're thinner, they'll be a little bit more comfortable. So what I'm going to do is put my templates on the boards and cut out the rough shape, and then I'm going to glue them up in the form so that I get that bend that I'm looking for. When gluing up the side pieces, you have to be careful because there is a left side and a right side, and the bends are different. So it helps to lay out the side pieces from the original sunglasses so that when you put your pieces into the form, you can get them in the right orientation so you do end up with a left side and a right side. So I'm going to put some glue on these and clamp them up in the form. Well, I let these dry overnight, so let's remove the clamps and take the parts out of the forms and see how we did. Alright, well, everything glued up okay. I just want to point out a few things at this stage. First of all, if you get any glue squeeze out on your lenses, you can just scrape that off with your fingernail and it'll come right off. I did have a hairline crack here on the top layer of wood, but I can fill that in with some glue and sawdust and you would probably never notice it. Also, since I cut the 3 layers of the frame the same size, once I introduced that bend, the sides ended up with a stair-step effect, but I can take care of that when I sand and shape these. So I'm just going to put blue tape over the lenses to protect them from scratches. Now for the side pieces, this one is ready to cut out on the scroll saw because I can kind of rotate it and keep it flat on the surface while I cut it out. But this one, since my template is on the other side, I'm going to have to take my template off and put it on this side so that I can keep it level on the scroll saw table as I cut it out. So the next thing I'm going to do is cut these out, sand and shape everything the way I want it, and get them ready to put on the hinges. Okay, I've got all the pieces sanded smooth and shaped just how I want them. And if you cut them out correctly and bent them just right, all your angles and everything will line up just like the sunglasses that you used as a model. So now let's put the hinges on. I'm going to cut these hinges off of these reading glasses, so I need to remove these plastic protection pieces. And then just take my wire cutters and snip off the hinges. I'm going to cut off this piece here. And that frees up that part of the hinge. And now, in order to cut off this part, I'm going to make sure I cut it off just past the hinge far enough so I can embed it into a hole in the frames without going through the front. So it's just less than 1/4 of an inch that I need to cut off on this side of the hinge. Here's a closer look at one of the hinges, and I'm going to glue the long side to the side piece of the sunglasses, and then the short side is going to get glued into a hole that I drill into the corner of the frame. When gluing on the hinges, you'll want to glue them on at a slight angle so that they'll go into the front piece straight. And that's because of the angle between the front frame and the side piece. I've marked where I need to drill the holes to glue in the hinges, and I'm using the top part of my form to support the sunglasses. I've also set the stop on my drill press to stop before drilling all the way through the frames. Okay, I've got both hinges glued into the holes with epoxy, and I put blue tape on the side pieces to make sure they don't get glued to the hinges or the front frames. And at this point, you just want to make sure everything sits level on the table and the glasses are not wobbling. And you also want to make sure that they look symmetrical and the sides are spaced evenly apart. So now we just need to let this dry. Well, the epoxy is dry and the sunglasses turned out looking pretty good. The hinges work correctly and I can fold them up, and when I fold out the sides they fit nicely on my head and they're very comfortable. I think using the bent lamination on the side pieces really helps with the comfort, because I didn't do that on the previous ones I made, and these are much more comfortable. So now I just need to apply a finish, and when I was looking at the websites that sell wooden sunglasses, they tend to use non-allergenic finishes since the sunglasses do rest on your skin. Things like beeswax and oils. So I'm just going to use mineral oil on these sunglasses. And oh, by the way, you guys have never looked better. Guys, well, that wraps up this project, and I really had fun researching and figuring out how to make these wooden sunglasses. I recommend you try it, and I'll include links in the video description to all the websites and the information that I found. And also go over to my website at thecarmichaelworkshop.com, where I will have a complete article on these sunglasses along with more detailed photographs. And you can also download my free PDF template of the Wayfarer style sunglasses if you want to try to make your own. So this was a really fun project, and I ended up with 5 cool pairs of sunglasses. Oh wait, 1, 2, 3, 4. Where's my other ones? Oh, here they are. If you are new to my channel, please consider subscribing. I try to do a new video every 1 or 2 weeks, and I just do fun woodworking on my wife's side of the garage. And to everyone else, as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.